am the advocacy coordinator for Wild Oceans, but on some occasions I'm a lot of other things. Sometimes I'm an activist, sometimes I'm a vegetarian, well, most of the times, and sometimes I'm a storyteller. And today, that's kind of what I'm going to do. And I guess we all really need stories, especially now when most of us are stuck at home and we lose appreciation for what's really out there and how we're in tune with this whole beautiful world and cosmos of ours. So without wasting too much of time, I'll be your captain for this afternoon, and the Earth has given me captainship of the ocean, and I'm going to use it to tell a story about life, and you all are my passengers. So put your helmets on and strap in. And Ruth, without further ado, could you let me share?
Okay, I think you can share.
Thank you. Okay, yes, guys, welcome to the first of hopefully many Wild Ocean webinar series. And the title of this one is Spaceship Earth, where we're going to be talking about Earth, obviously, the ocean and marine life. So I honestly love the itty-bitty stuff at the bottom of the ocean, those microbes and crustaceans and crabs. But before we get there, we have to get the big questions out of the way. So let's just start with the biggest of them all. Where are we? We're in the universe, and the universe is made up of everything. All those millions and trillions of stars and galaxies out there, that's part of the universe. We have our own galaxy, and it's called the Milky Way. Our Milky Way is comprised of about 200 billion stars. Each star is a sun. Now, not all stars have planets, and not all planets have life. Coming into our solar system, we are the third planet from the sun, called Earth. So that's where we are, but what is everything and how did we get here? Well, in the universe, there is tons and tons of gases and dust all floating around from exploded stars. And over time, those gases come together and they get really, really, really hot, and they become baby suns. So if you follow the path of the trail, you'll see how the suns eventually turn from gas into a sun like ours. And the dust that's floating around in the universe also, that swirls around those baby suns, and over a long period of time, those form little planets. And that's how Earth came to be. The process of forming bigger lumps of rock in space is called accretion. So that's the planet and the solar system out of the way. We're here to talk about the ocean. How did the ocean come to be? Well, in the early Earth, when it was still molten and asteroids were bombarding us, there wasn't much of liquid on the surface. What happened after a long period of time is that the Earth cooled. And when it cooled, it released these liquids, and it released these gases back into the sky. Over a long period of time, the rains fell and filled up the shallow ocean basins, and that's how we got our oceans of today. It's via a process called degassing, and the secret to that was gas. So we have our ancient ocean full of this life and full of chemicals and non-living things, but it's a very turbulent time for Earth. There's storms and a planet awash with radioactive materials. What happened is that oily drops became a bit bigger. Oily drops became medium-sized oily drops, and those medium-sized oily drops became larger oily drops. There are scientific names for this, and they've discovered, and scientists have observed the process independently in the lab. But eventually, with a little bit of stimulation and lightning and some radiation, we got life. We got living stuff in these oily drops. What we've recently seen is that these oily drops form spontaneously around deep ocean vents. So that's one possible idea about how life formed on the planet. But now you must understand that for a very long time, Earth was full of only this microscopic life, little bacteria floating around the surface. They were used to creating food from chemicals, but then some of them got smart. They said, let's convert the sun into food. And via the process of photosynthesis, they converted sunlight and carbon dioxide into oxygen, and thus the Great Oxidation Event began. This was the first major extinction in Earth's life history, but it led to some amazing things. Oxygen allowed life to take on a variety of forms, and here we see the simplest of these forms, when basic cells start working together. So these are some of the marine animals you can find today, and they are sponges and placozoa. I'm going to talk about sponges a bit first. Sponges are actually an accumulation of individual cells working together in harmony. And as you can see the bottom picture, they do pulse, whereby they draw water in and expel it, and this is called filter feeding. It's one of the earliest forms of feeding in the planet. Probably unknown to you are the placozoa. Well, that's because placozoa were discovered more recently in 1883 compared to the sponges and the other animals we know about. A placozoa was found by a scientist on the inside of an aquarium tank, and he realized that this animal is more simple even than the sponge, and the placozoa is a collection of cells, but the free living variety compared to sponges, which have to live on the seafloor. Placozoa are not really well understood, and we've only discovered 3 species so far, but they also exist in the marine habitats. Life took a couple of major steps in complexity after that, from the cellular organization to the level organization. And here we see our jelly friends, the Cnidaria and the CTENOPHORES. Ctenophores on the left are comb jellies. They get their name from the tiny tentacles that run along their body, and these are known as cilia. The cilia allow the ctenophores to maneuver themselves in the water, though just like jellyfish, they're mostly at the mercy of the tides. So they float along, but they can orientate themselves a little bit to just for which direction they want to go. Coral and jellyfish are actually part of the same group, the Cnidaria. Cnidaria means nettle animals. You may be thinking, how are coral, which live on the bottom of the ocean and look like plants, related to jellyfish? And that's because the group Cnidaria exhibits something called polymorphism. This means 2 different forms of the same animal live and can come out of one organism. So the Cnidaria have something called the medusa stage, and that's like the jellyfish, which is free living in the ocean water. And then it has something called the polyp stage, which is the coral we're all familiar with. Next on our journey through this ocean are the spiny-skinned echinoderms. Life realized that having protection was a good thing. Learning from the Cnidaria who could sting people, life learned to incorporate protection as part of its evolutionary journey. So the spiny-skinned echinoderms began. Echinoderms inhabit a range of habitats, and they take on many varieties. The common feature of them is having no proper internal skeleton, no real external skeleton, but actually calcareous plates covering their bodies called ossicles. There are a wide variety of creatures, and you probably know the sea star as a famous one. A couple of these examples on screen were actually taken by our research vessel, the Angra Puquina, and they exhibit some very uncommon types of echinoderms. And in the top left is a basket star, which grows on coral and looks like a wild mass of arms coming out of a basket. Then you've got the brittle star, which is also taken here off the Tugela banks, as well as the yellow feather star at the bottom. Other species, other animals in the same group as echinoderms are sea cucumbers. And these animals all kind of at some level resemble each other. Enter the exoskeleton. Life realized, hang on, I don't want to be at the mercy of the current, so I don't want to be swimming, I don't want to be floating freely like the Cnidaria. At the same time, I need a bit of protection. I can't get both of these if I'm an echinoderm. So life took one idea and ran with it, the exoskeleton. Taking protection to the extreme, marine invertebrates exhibit a variety of forms. Some animals which are famous for their exoskeletons are the mollusks and the crustaceans. And on this screen, we see some examples of those which are alive in our oceans today, such as sea slugs, the cuttlefish, octopus, sea snails, and chitin. All of these belong to the group called mollusks. Crustaceans, on the other hand, are more similar to our common day ants and cockroaches. They're the insects of the ocean. And to that group belong things like shrimp, crabs, and lobsters. Even barnacles, which stick to whales, are part of the crustacean family. One of the problems with exoskeletons, however, is that they didn't grow with the animal. An animal had to molt in order to grow a new exoskeleton. Also, it was a lot of heavy work carrying a big skeleton around it. So the next step that life took in this journey through the ocean was to internalize the skeleton, to bring it on the inside. And here we see animals which are called vertebrates. Vertebrates have inside skeletons, and in this group belongs all the famous characters that you and I are so lovingly aware of, like the great white shark, the African penguin, and the green sea turtle. To this group of marine life belongs animals that live in the vast reaches of the world, and they usually receive a lot of specialized protection. By giving them protection, we protect other species. And this is what an example of umbrella protection. The coelacanth, for interest's sake, is one of the earliest examples of lobed fish and represents an interesting link between the jump from reptiles and fish, because usually they don't have bones in their fins. So that was a rapid journey through our amazing ocean and how it still acts as a museum for life. From the earliest examples of cells working together, cells living alone, from tissue-based organisms to animals without even any skeletons, all of these still live within our amazing ocean. And whilst you might not be aware of them, that all needs protection. These ocean environments protect the individual animals, and the environments are as varied under the water as they are on land. Some of the ocean ecosystems which are out there include stuff like seagrass meadows, the amazing intertidal zones, estuaries, sandy shores, and even the deep sea, where some awesome creatures live. But all is not well in paradise. The ocean is facing a variety of threats. For example, coral reefs, which are some of the most productive regions on the planet and have a variety of genetic and ecosystem types, are facing threats. One of the issues, cnidarian, and an animal, by the way, grows in only specific conditions. It needs to live around continents because nutrients in the ocean are limiting. Think of it kind of like a farm. You need a little bit of water, a little bit of land, and you've got this underwater amazing garden. Coral are in trouble from ocean acidification and ocean warming. They bleach and lose their ability to sustain life. Added onto that is the threat of habitat destruction when we drag ships at the bottom of the ocean. The frilled sea slug is a South African species on the left-hand side of the screen, and cells in that particular animal have been found to counteract esophageal cancer, which is actually throat cancer. So there's a lot for us to discover about the genetic diversity in the ocean. So that's why protecting ecosystems is very important. Even out in the open ocean, things aren't doing too well. In these wide reaches where whales and the fast tuna swim, not everything is going well. There's a lot of human traffic because of ships carrying cargo and people buying things. Our lifestyle causes disturbances in the ocean, and this is causing a problem for whales and other marine life. Added onto that is the problems of overfishing and fishing for species which aren't able to regenerate their stocks, like shark. We see shark fin fishing causing a drop in shark numbers, and those sharks uphold ecosystems. Bycatch, for example, is another major problem of overfishing, and this makes the open ocean not a safe place for fish and other animals. But that's not where the impact of humans or life stops. Life has found a way to thrive in even the most extreme of environments. At the bottom of the ocean, where the hot magma and lava of the planet meets the cold waters of the ocean, we have hydrothermal vents. Hydrothermal vents spew mineral-rich gases out into the local atmosphere, and there's certain bacteria and animals who can synthesize this and thus form the basis of hydrothermal vent communities. Some animals have developed really cool adaptations to life down there. For example, the deep sea snail has the ability to synthesize iron from the literal environment. It incorporates iron into its shell and into its fleshy body. There's a couple of pictures there. It's critically endangered right now. Other adaptations to down there are bioluminescence, which the famous anglerfish and jellyfish usually exhibit. Mankind also has got ideas for the deep, and deep sea mining and oil exploration pose threats to the deep sea world. Overall, it seems that this ocean, which holds many wondrous characters and many wondrous species, is suited for life, but not just life for the ocean animals. It's suited for life for people. The ocean provides the ability for life to be sustained on the planet as a whole. It creates oxygen, as we know, 70%, and as we scientists have determined, 70% of our oxygen comes from the ocean. And by doing that, the ocean stores carbon. In addition to storing carbon, lots of other nutrients are cycled through the ocean. And the ocean is a reservoir for your phosphorus, for your sulfur, all of these important biogeochemicals, which make it work for us. And because the ocean's working for us, it can provide us with food. Food in the form of fish, which sustains millions of people who live on the coast, and that's their main source of dietary protein. Unbeknownst to people who fish or people who know about the plankton, are the climatic relationship that the ocean plays in keeping life on Earth. It sends warm waters from the equators to the poles, and in this way redistributes energy around the planet. The ocean also enables certain habitats to form around it, which grant people protection. And I found a really cool video to show you guys about how mangroves, which are a critical ecosystem, protect the coasts. If I could just get it to play, 1 second. Okay, so the velocity of the waves are absorbed by the mangroves, and this protects the coast. How amazing is that? That's a function of our marine habitats. So the animals of the ocean are in danger. We have realized that, but they don't have much of a say in protecting themselves. We humans have that custodianship and that responsibility. One of the methods of keeping the amazing living ocean alive and living and able to sustain us as humans is through marine protected areas. Marine protected areas are parts of the ocean which have been designated as legal places where human activity is restricted. Human activity is restricted here to allow the marine life to survive, to recover, and to thrive. And once that happens, these marine protected areas can act as engines of marine life via something called the spillover effect. The world we live in right now is pretty complicated. It's pretty complicated because there's a lot we don't know about the future, but we do know that the environment and biodiversity in general is under threat. So the world your grandfather may have seen may have been in a better state than ours. That may be the historic state. The world we know, that's our current state. That's our uncertain world. What is the future holding? We don't know, but we need to keep some of today for that future. And marine protected areas have a role in doing that. In such a manner, marine protected areas can serve as a living library of life's journey. And I hope by you engaging with me in this presentation and going through the ocean, you've got a deeper appreciation for life and for the role the ocean plays in keeping that life and maintaining us. Thank you. The end.